Happy Friday, everyone. It's Lisa Norell. Welcome to episode 82 of the Mindful Marketer live stream. And we will be sharing this across all places you get your podcasts. So episode 82, why should you care? How market leaders rise together through community. Well, a lot of people I advise, a lot of marketing leaders often overlook what it takes to really get promoted and to have a position and perception as a growth leader. So it's been happening for the 13 years I've been building CMO communities. Marketing leaders over-index on title and expertise. And what's really required are 4 key things to get ahead and to build a really exciting career. It's the right position, the right expertise, personal authority, and great connections. So in just a minute or two, we're going to welcome my guest, Sally Helgesen, back for a return visit to the stage with us, to the studio, to talk about this. How do you rise together through community and make sure you're working on all 4 areas? In addition, we're going to be giving her book away to our U.S. visitors today. So you must be present to win at the end. And my trusty producer, I am sure, Marissa, will keep me honest to let us know who the winners are today. So a couple of updates for all of you. We have been in full speed ahead with hosting in-person gatherings, and our 8th CMOs Leading Innovation Conference is coming up in Manhattan, New York City, May 1st and 2nd. So let me tell you briefly about CLIck. CLIck is, again, our 8th cohort, and it's called Digital Innovation Day. We are going to be bringing together chief digital officers and chief marketing officers from across the country, the former officer with the Coca-Cola Company, the head of marketing at American Home Insurance, Andy Yost will be joining us. We also have Peter Winnick coming to talk to us about thought leadership in the digital era. And Jeannie Gallardo will be joining us from Washington, D.C., from CoStar Group to talk about solid strategies to address the demise of third-party cookies. So I can't wait to see you all there. And Marissa will put in the chat the link to our blog at lisanorell.com, where you can register and learn more. So don't miss it. And I hope to see you. And one other thing we have going on. We have a New York Times best-selling author joining us May 1st for dinner. So it's going to be really great. I love surprising our cohort with these delightful people from my global community. So we'll see you there. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest today, Sally Helgesen. Oh my goodness. Sally is a denizen of dialogue and diverse thinking. In today's world of harrowing hybrid work and polarization, we need wise women like Sally Helgesen more than ever. Her 8th book, which is completely marked up here, which you can see, is Rising Together, How We Can Bridge Divides and Create a More Inclusive Workplace. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy she's here. Let's welcome Sally to the studio. Hello, Sally. Welcome.
Hello, Lisa. It's wonderful to be with you again.
Well, you know, it's pretty rare that we invite people back to the show, and You are. I saw you in London at Thinkers 50 last November. And I said, hey, Sally, we got to put this show together. We need to do this.
We made it happen.
We did. And just a little memory for a little walk down memory lane, Sally, before we start is, do you remember we walked into the Guild Hall at night for the awards and everything was glowing in pink?
It's so beautiful. It was such an extraordinary venue. One of the top venues of any place I've ever been in my life. It was up there with the equivalent, the town hall in Vienna, where the Drucker Foundation holds their big annual yearly due.
You have received many accolades at these awards events, but what I wanted you to know is in honor of the last time I saw you, which was at that epic Guild Hall, I have lit my studio up today with pink light. So I wanted everybody to notice. I put some thought into all of this.
That's great.
Well, let's get started because, I love to make sure we are sharing common definitions, Sally. What, in your mind, when you talk about rising together in this great new book, what do you mean by community? Define that for us.
Well, community can be any network that you are a part of that is based on positive contributions to one another. And I distinguish networks in this way, which is essentially community, from grapevines, which are often based on, gossip or stories about why don't they, or, sort of negative kind of stories. So I think that of networks and communities as very positive, as very forward looking, where people are really invested in one another's success and development.
Kind of like what we do as fellow members of the Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches community is like this morning we had our Coaches Connect meeting very early in the morning, our first one. And I said, hey, everybody, make sure you show up today because I'm meeting with Sally and we're going to have a great show. And just to amplify each other's work, only because it's the right thing to do. It feels great. And everybody wins and all boats. What's that saying about all boats rising together?
It's exactly right, and I think that is the spirit of the network. We're both a part of the 100 Coaches, and I have learned a lot about how positive networks arise by being a participant in that.
Well, you know what I did is I poured over your book for several weeks just because, it's like noshing on a birthday cake. I leave the cake in the refrigerator for a few days and I nibble on it and I just savor it. And one of the things I savored is the amazing number of saboteurs that you uncover. You uncovered 8 of them, which actually undermine our ability either to be a great contributor to a community or to develop trusting communities. If it's okay with you, since we don't have a long show today, I picked the 3 that I continuously see undermining great marketing leaders and CEOs. So I thought maybe we could dive into those 3, if that's okay with you.
Of course, and these are really triggers. They're emotional responses that make us hard to build community in the positive ways that we know we should.
Yes, we'll call them insidious saboteurs. And these are the ones we see. So let's go. You know me, I'm big on practical takeaways. So let's start. We're going to have 3. I'm going to give everybody the 3. And then we can go in and unpack a few. And then we're starting to get questions as well. And so we'll be welcoming people like Robbie from San Francisco. So the first one is fear of self-aggrandizement. The second, I know people are taking notes. So the second one is overconfidence versus competence. And the third one is what you alluded to earlier was the grapevine versus the network. So let's get started on that fear of self-aggrandizement. What are you seeing out there, Sally?
I think the fear of being seen as self-aggrandizing is really the larger problem. That fear that others may perceive us as self-aggrandizing. One of the most common questions I get, and this is especially from women, is how can I represent my achievements without anyone thinking that I'm too ambitious or self-aggrandizing or all about me. And the fact is, you probably can't. Somebody somewhere is going to see you as self-aggrandizing. It speaks to their own discomfort. So we want to really be thinking of how can I speak to what the concerns are of this person. How can I represent what I've contributed? One of the takeaways, one of the best ways to do this is using what I call the language of contribution as opposed to the language of achievement. So it's not an either or. It's not an either or, well, the team did everything, or, well, I, scored this win. The language of contribution enables us to find that sweet spot in the middle so that we are both talking about what our team did, but we're embedding what we did in the context of the team. So I find words like contribution to be particularly, or information, that's another big one. Here's another takeaway. Instead of thinking of, oh, if I talk about what I did or my success, it's going to be bragging, think of it as information and present it that way. Oh, Lisa, I know you're going to be meeting with so-and-so next week. Here's some information about what they found particularly helpful that I was able to convey in the conversation I had with them last month. So by presenting it as information, you take the whole idea of self-aggrandizing out of the way and make it directly helpful to people.
I love that idea. And that's, again, one of the boy, I'm going to upset somebody. I'm just getting ready. One of the reasons I don't read books on diversity and inclusion is because they never give us any advice on how to actually create and cultivate more inclusive communities. Your book is replete with live examples. I found examples from that large medical device company. And, I know you have worked with and interacted with companies like Capital One, which will now have to create a much more inclusive company with the acquisition of Discover. So, you are out there teaching people the how, which I love.
Yeah, with Rising Together, that's exactly, Lisa, what I was trying to do. With Marshall, I'd had so much success on how women rise. And I realized it's because of the how. This book is so tactical and so practical. So I wanted to do the same exactly for diversity and inclusion. It's such a theoretical, dry topic inherently. I've been to so many presentations. Let me share with you my 5-part leadership model does this help people? No. So I really wanted to give people the hows and be very specific about what inclusive behaviors are, what specific ones are, what they look like in the workplace. And then, as we're doing here, address what makes it hard for people to act in a way that they know will better serve them, their team, and their organization.
So, ladies who are watching this, remember when someone points out that your team did an amazing job or you have exceeded your MQLs and your SQL quotas to enable higher revenue growth, avoid saying, oh, it's all because of the great team that I have.
Yeah.
That is the default reaction. Instead, how about this, Sally? the team really pulled together on this. My specific contribution was that we worked with Lisa to set up the right processes and accountability systems so that everybody could move in the right direction and set the right priorities.
That is exactly why that word contribution is so helpful. Just the way you used it. You are part of the team. You made a contribution. It's not self-aggrandizing to admit you did that, but you want to do it in the context of the larger effort. This is how we rise together. It's how we create community.
Absolutely. So that's the first one is this fear of tooting our horn because I might shine too brightly. Get over yourself, everybody. And I will channel my inner Alan Weiss, who has mentored me on many occasions. If you don't toot your own horn, there is no music. All right, let's move to number 2. Let's talk about another one. Overconfidence versus competence. Let's unpack that one, Sally.
Exactly. We've gotten, I noticed that after the very helpful and useful book, The Confidence Code, was published in the probably around 2015, 2016, that there began to be a belief, and this was true among women, but also among men who are not that comfortable talking about themselves, that having confidence was the key, and that it was kind of a waste of time to worry about being too competent, that what you needed to do was a lot of self-affirmations and, I am worthy, sort of Stuart Smiley, for anybody who's around who remembers Al Franken's great character on Saturday Night Live. By God, I'm good enough. Rather than thinking about, okay, I'm going to develop my expertise, but then I have the responsibility to let people know what I'm doing, but my contribution is rooted in my competence, and just boosting up my confidence is going to be ultimately hollow. I was really influenced by the work of Tomas Premuzic Chamorro, who's a sociologist and business professor in both London and New York. And he said that one of the reasons there are so many leadership blow-ups is that organizations do a particularly poor job of identifying overconfident men. A poor job of identifying overconfident men. So a lot of times, those who lost out on the position, who know they have greater competence and would have been better in that role, will think, well, of course, he's so confident that he can convince anybody of anything. Guess what? It often doesn't work that way. It often blows up. The investors lose patience. The rest of the team, realizes they're being led down a bad path. Clients go, wait a minute, what are you delivering? So the overconfidence really doesn't work. So just striving to develop our confidence is not really that useful. We want to develop our competence, but then also create the networks and the communities that will give us the opportunity to really let that competence be recognized.
Could you recall too the story from I think it was chapter 4 about the chief marketing officer of the medical device company? I just thought that was a great illustration of what you're describing. And since so many of our people that watch and listen are senior marketing leaders, perhaps you could share that.
Of course I can. I will never forget that. I can see where I was standing on stage. I was doing International Women's Day event for a very large medical device company. And there were about 350 women there. And there was one man, and he was the corporate internal champion or sponsor. And he was the CMO for the Americas. And this is a huge company. So this is a massive job. And so at one point, the women are talking about, how do we know we should apply for a job? And, one woman was saying, I wanted to apply for this job, but I only had 4 of the 6, requirements for applying for the job. So I didn't apply for it. And somebody else had, my male colleague had fewer, but he got the job. So I don't understand how to do this. And then people were asking me questions that were unanswerable, like, okay, if there's 6 capabilities we need to have, how many do I need to have to apply for the job? Is it 5? Is it 6? How can you answer a question like that? So the CMO stood up, raised his hand, and he said, look, let me help you out here. He said, when the job 2 levels down from this, I really wanted, because I thought it could lead to the job that I have now. So I was going to do whatever I could to get it. He said, when I got the application, there were, I think, 7 competencies. I realized I had 3, but he said, I didn't hesitate to apply, because what I realized is that my job was to be able to make the case for why I could, based on experience and based on the expertise I did have, why I could get up to speed quickly on those other 4 competencies. That it wasn't that I had to have them. Nobody expects anyone to be able to immediately do a job that they've never had. He said, but I did need to be able to explain that. And what was fascinating is the women in the room were stunned. They were shocked, because the thought of applying when you had less than half of the competencies required or listed was something that they hadn't thought of. So one of the women said, how did you know to do that? How did you understand that's how it worked? And he said, well, I had a mentor who worked with me on it. So what was really exciting, we talk about takeaways and we talk about action, was that the upshot of this meeting was that the women decided to develop these mentoring circles with people who were particularly confident about their competence. And the result was they had 70% more applications from women in the next year. So it's a terrific idea. Now, that CMO, what's important is that CMO didn't think, oh, well, I don't have these competencies, but it doesn't matter because I'm so fabulous. I'll be able to learn on the, by the seat of my pants. He wasn't taking that overconfident approach, but he did understand I need to be able to articulate why I can do this. So he really kind of hit that sweet spot.
I think that is the kind of CMO I would love to meet, and I would love to invite him to our live stream sometime. So perhaps you and I can talk about that later. If I could contribute a tactic here, Sally, my tactic for the group would be the next time a cool opportunity raises itself at your company and you are inspired by it, and also you have some butterflies in your stomach about it, and someone comes to you and says, Sally, would you be interested in applying for this opportunity? Remember 2 words. Of course. Of course.
Of course I would. Yes, I would love to do that. Another tactic, Lisa, that could be helpful, is start talking about what kind of positions you might want to apply for in the future right now. So you'll be more prepared. I think this position might be very interesting for me. I know you've had some experience of it. You've seen it up close. What kinds of skills do you think I would need to think about developing in order to be prepared? You can always do that. What are you doing there? You're letting people know that you have aspirations higher than where you are now. You're letting them know that those aspirations are quite specific, and you maximize the chance that you'll get information that will help you, that will be useful to you when the time comes to apply.
Some excellent advice there. I hope many of you who are watching and listening now are taking notes. This is fantastic. We are sitting at the feet of a wise woman. And I'm just hanging on and going for the ride at this point. This is so much fun. We're taking questions as well.
Good.
Marissa just told me we have a great crowd here today from around the world. And for those of you watching and listening, stay because we're giving away Sally's book at the end of the show.
Yes.
And we need your address to ship the books, and they are autographed. So we've gone over a couple of them. I also want to share with you a story that just because I love to promote our clients and our members of our CMO cohort, the marketing growth leaders. I have a client in the mortgage industry. And, with the rising interest rates, the mortgage industry took a real haircut in the last year or so. And this CMO, who I've been working with, coaching, as well as collaborating with them in our group, just took the of course attitude and said, there are so many inefficiencies in the way we go to market, in the way we sell, in the way we're using positioning and lead generation. I am going to become expert in generative AI. And they took courses in the last 12 months. We helped them select the right curriculum. They stepped forward to the president and said, I'd like to start an AI council. So we create some policies and guidelines, and I will set up a training program for salespeople. And they're doing it. The company's doing better. Their sales have improved, and they're attracting very high-end mortgage bankers.
Wow.
Or this company is forward thinking. They're not sitting on the sidelines waiting for AI to be perfect. They're finding use cases that generate more leads for us. We love this person, and they're elevating their profile within the company. So that's an example. She's rising the other boats.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had to brag about their contribution. So let's talk about the third distinction. This one's kind of fun. The grapevine versus the network.
Grapevines, in my view, are sort of networks, but they're networks that tend to focus on negativity, on sharing information. Oh, they don't get it. This boss was a disaster for me. I can't believe this happened to me. So there's a lot of kind of negativity, and they serve as sort of funnelers of gossip, if you will. Networks, I make the distinction, as we've talked about, have this positive, forward-looking approach, and very important. Now, what's been one of the things that has fascinated me, because I've been at this a very long time, is that you'll often hear in a kind of network that, when you have ERGs, for example, that aren't really very positive looking, you'll hear a lot of complaining about
sessions. Are they bitching sessions?
Yeah, you got it. That you'll hear a lot of complaining about the old boys network. Oh, you can't get anywhere around here without the old boys network. You can't, the old boys network keeps all the plums, all the goodies to themselves. Maybe true. But the response to that is not complaining about the old boys network. And I would suggest it's not even prostrating yourself, forget prostate, in order to try.
Speaking of men.
Exactly. In order to try to try to get noticed or get inside. It may work, it may not. The response to that is to create your own networks that take what is good about the old boys network, which is the fact that they were resources for helping the people who were within them build their careers and their connections. Their downside has been historically their exclusivity, which is why they're to some degree on the wane as organizations have become so much more diverse. But to take that essential practice where you invest heavily in one another's careers, where you're always on the opportunity, on the outlook for opportunities for the people in the network. Oh, yeah, I've got a new job coming up, and I have an opportunity to recommend you from this position. So that kind of orientation. So take what made old boys networks so effective, that idea of we're in this together, and as one of us becomes more successful, that is better for all of us. And the example I give in the book is one of my favorite. It's this group called the Alori Sisterhood, which was a group of Black and Latino political operatives throughout New York State, who were stuffing envelopes, always getting frozen out of the old boys network. And they kind of met for gripe sessions and to help each other. But it evolved into something that was much more like an old boys network for these excluded women. And their careers, the White House communications chief was stuffing envelopes 12 years ago when she joined this network. So it is remarkable what we can do by investing in one another's careers, wherever we are in our careers, whatever point we're at, and encouraging younger people coming up to take that approach. Not waste your energy feeling bad because you're an outsider, but use your energy to be an insider and create your own inside.
Yes, it's where do I choose the limited 24 hours a day that I have? Is it to contribute to the grievance culture that permeates our political system in the United States, or is it to help others shine and to build my own self-care? Speaking of which, I think a great example of that is Dr. Lillian, who's joining us from Columbia University in New York City. Thank you, Dr. Lillian, for being here and helping to help us rise together. This is so cool. This is super cool. As we wrap up today, Sally, we've covered three really excellent distinctions. Um, Tell us about a network that you are doubling down on this year that you just love, and why.
Well, the network I'm doubling down on this year, there are two, and one's micro, one's macro. The micro is a connect group within the 100 coaches. I have tremendous value from, especially one that I was part of that's still meeting after 3 years. So I'm joining another one, and I find this a wonderful way of investing in my colleagues' careers. The other is the International Women's Forum, which I've been a sort of inactive member of for about 30 years. But my husband and I are moving part-time to Spain, and it's very big in Spain. It's one of the, it's extremely high profile in Spain. So I figure, okay, I'll develop some of my relationships in Spain. So those will be quite a contrast, but those are the two networks where I'm focusing my energy this year.
So you're saying I have an opportunity to visit you in Spain and practice my Spanish.
You do. I'm not very good, but my husband's great.
Oh, estoy muy feliz.
Sí.
Oh, that's great, Sally. Well, we're so thrilled you're here with book number 8. We are so thrilled that you continue to thrive. And I appreciated so many of your contributions today, the tactics that people, men, women, all genders can apply to ensure that they thrive in their careers and in their lives. And what better woman to be here with us than you on the heels of International Women's Day next Friday.
Yes.
So celebrating here with you. Thank you so much, Sally, for being with us. And you want to find out now who won your
Of
book?
course. Yes, I do.
We have 2 winners today. We have Dr. Lillian from Columbia University, and we have Robbie Baxter from San Francisco. So, ladies, send me an email with your address so we can ensure your book reaches you soon. So happy. Yes, there's my email address. So, Sally, we will invite you back again soon. And maybe next time you will be sharing from España.
España, Sevilla, sí.
Perfecto. Mwah. Abrazos a ti.
Exactly. Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Fantastic. Well, I really am glad you're all here today to learn from Sally. Go find somebody you can help elevate as a result of these great insights today. And also, if you want to continue to elevate your career, join us for Digital Innovation Day in New York City, May 1st and 2nd. You know, I think I should invite Sally to our special dinner May 1st as well. I think she'd be an amazing guest, and we just want to reward her for all she does. So, with that, my friends, this brings us to the end of our show. And we're going to be back here with my trusty producer, Marissa Callie, on April 2nd at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. What problem are we going to help you solve? Something called overwhelm. I am hearing a lot of marketing clients, a lot of CEOs say, we just don't have the time to do this. We have too many priorities. Where do we start? AI is overwhelming. We're going to be talking about a model, and I'm going to show you a model that has helped my clients develop a growth rate from 2.8% to 10% over 1 year, and it works. So until April 2nd, go enjoy this beautiful Friday, and we'll see you back in the studio.